Thousands of years into the future, civilization has fallen and the long night has come. In an epic series first conceived by Gene Roddenberry and developed by Robert Hewitt Wolfe, one man emerges from an age long past to launch a mission that will rekindle the light of what was lost. Together, Captain Dylan Hunt and his crew will take on impossible challenges as they voyage onward through the universe aboard the warship Andromeda. At its zenith, the system's Commonwealth spanned multiple galaxies, including the Milky Way, Andromeda, and Triangulum. A utopian society, it utilized extremely advanced technology and consisted of many sentient species, including humanity. It was a peaceful time, with the arts and culture flourishing. Leading the Commonwealth was an ancient race known as the Vedrons. Quadrupedal species with humanoid torsos, they possessed muscular bodies with blue skin that closely resembled mythological centaurs. Matriarchal, Vedran society was dominated by an empress that acted as the leader of the Commonwealth. Of all their scientific contributions, the discovery of the slipstream would prove to be the greatest accomplishment of the Vedrons. Essentially, it is an alternate dimension that can be used for faster-than-light travel. For reasons not fully understood, only organic pilots are capable of navigating the probability tunnels of the slipstream, meaning it cannot be automated technologically. The golden age of the Commonwealth would not last, however, as an alien threat emerged on its frontier. The Magog invasion of 9766 saw legions of the monstrous beings suddenly appearing to ravage the civilization, with the massacre of Brandenburg being their first major assault by their swarm ships. Due to the fact Magog did not utilize slipstream technology in the same way, the attack came as a complete surprise. The Magog themselves are a carnivorous species of grotesque humanoids with bodies covered in dense brown hair. Parasitic, they reproduce by infecting hosts with their larvae. Originally believed to be naturally evolved creatures, they are in fact biologically engineered entities created by the spirit of the abyss, a godlike being that seeks to devour the material universe. The homeworld of the Magog is a construct known as the World Ship, an artificial solar system of hollow planets that contain trillions of the creatures. Acting as a vanguard of pure destruction for their creator, they wield fearsome point singularity weapons that can decimate targets. The Treaty of Antares finally saw a lull in the fighting between the Commonwealth and the Magog invaders, but even this would spark another conflict. The Magog would use the fragile peace to consolidate their positions and replenish their population. The Vedrons, willing to believe any sentient species could be reasoned with, became complacent and believed order had been restored. The race of human offshoots, known as Nietzscheans, was first founded by Dr. Paul Museveni 8,000 years before the events of the Andromeda series, with his creation Drago Museveni being the progenitor of the race. Following the tenets of Friedrich Nietzsche, they have taken the concept of survival of the fittest to heart, prizing genetic supremacy, selective breeding, and rigorous training. Aside from being physically superior to baseline humans, with increased strength, reflexes, and immune systems, the most distinguishing trait of Nietzscheans are the bone blades on their forearms. Organized into various sects known as prides, such as the Drago-Katsov, Jaguar, and Sabra Jaguar, they are clannish and view baseline humans as inferior, referring to them as kludges. It was this dedication to strength that caused the Nietzscheans to be incensed by the Treaty of Antares. Viewing it as an act of weakness by the Vedrons, they would begin constructing a massive battle fleet as well as infiltrating the High Guard, the exploratory and military wing of the Commonwealth. The stage was set for treason. The Battle of Hephaestus struck as unexpectedly as the Magog invasion. Hundreds of High Guard ships were lured on the premise of a joint defense mission with the Nietzscheans, only to be swiftly destroyed once the genetically modified race turned on them. The ensuing conflict raged for 2 years, with the Vedrans vanishing from the galaxy by cutting their homeworld of Tarn Vedra off from slipstream routes soon after it began. The decapitated Commonwealth rapidly lost ground until making a last stand at the Battle of Witchhead. Although the Nietzscheans would emerge victorious, their celebration would be short-lived, as the powerful Drago-Katsov Pride turned on the other prides to ensure their own dominance, thus collapsing into tribal warfare and ushering in the 300-year period known as the Long Night. With the disappearance of the Vedrans, technology regressed during this time, since few outside of the lost race understood how it operated. Slipstream travel became more difficult without the Commonwealth's beacons and charts, causing many systems to go dark, and the once unified galaxies to balkanize. Even more insidiously, Magog swarms would routinely target planets to be harvested as they rampaged unchecked, while Nietzschean prides enslaved or raided with impunity as they sought to monopolize what remained of advanced Commonwealth technology. Earth suffered greatly during this time, first falling into civil war after it was cut off from slipstream trade routes, with millions more dying during a Magog invasion, and finally occupation by the Drago-Katsov that turned the planet into a slave vassal. It was during the opening of the Battle of Hephaestus that Captain Dylan Hunt's ship, the Glorious Heritage-class heavy cruiser Andromeda Ascendant, found itself caught in the event horizon of a black hole, and thus trapped in time. Having been betrayed by his Nietzschean first officer, Geharis Rade, Hunt's crew was dead, leaving him as the sole survivor. Over 300 years would pass as the Andromeda was trapped in suspended animation. The salvage vessel, Eureka Maru, would prove to be the Andromeda's salvation, as the crew had been hired to claim the legendary ghost ship from the black hole. They consisted of Captain Becca Valentine, an ace pilot, Seamus Harper, a brilliant engineer, Science Officer Rev Bem, or Bug-Eyed Monster, a Magog priest of the Wayist religion that provided spiritual support, his real name loosely translating as Red Plague, Trance Gemini, a mysterious individual that served as life support specialist, and Tyr Anasazi, a Nietzschean mercenary of the Kodiak Pride that held ulterior motives. The Eureka Maru's crew had been hired by a Nightsider named Gerontex, who would later double-cross them in an attempt to avoid payment and eliminate witnesses. Still on edge from the events of the Battle of Hephaestus, Dylan Hunt saw the newcomers as enemies. He was able to convince them to join forces with him, however, once they realized Gerontex's betrayal. Tyr would try to seize the Andromeda for himself once he saw its power, intending to use it to unite the prides, often putting him at odds with Captain Hunt. In order to escape the black hole's gravity, the Andromeda was forced to use nova bombs, normally designed to wipe out solar systems, as well as the Maru's towing capability. Another member of the crew would be created by Harper once he repaired the damaged AI core in the form of Rami, the android avatar of Andromeda. Together, Dylan Hunt and his crew embarked on a mission to restore the Commonwealth. The universe of the distant future proved to have many sentient races and factions, each with a distinct culture. Many were members of the Commonwealth during its reign. Others are overtly hostile or have sinister hidden motives. Perseids are a race of blue-skinned humanoids hailing from the planet of Ugroth, characterized by their protruding bony chins. In the same way Vedrans likely influenced the centaur myth on Earth, Perseids likely impacted ancient Egyptian culture with their appearance. Since they are all hermaphrodites, they may fertilize or gestate offspring to reproduce, which are then raised by the state. Priding themselves as intellectuals and pacifists, they were the only race other than the Vedrans capable of understanding their technology. It was this specialization that made Perseids targets of the Nietzscheans during the Long Night, seeking to enslave them for the maintenance of captured Commonwealth technology. Less savory in reputation are Nightsiders, a nocturnal and physically weak species. Resembling bipedal rats, they are raised from birth to be conniving and selfish. Since a single Nightsider can spawn dozens of offspring during their lifetime, their warrens often become overpopulated and stripped of resources. For this reason, Nightsider tadpoles are thrown into the toxic waters and hunted by elders wielding spears, or cannibalized by each other to cull the weak before they can grow into adulthood. Distrusted and marginalized even during the time of the Commonwealth, they are nonetheless resourceful scavengers many planets have a kill-on-sight protocol in place for. Their homeworld of Krendar IV was abandoned after being deemed unfit for habitation due to pollution. In the lesser Magellanic Cloud lies the oceanic planet of Calderash, capital of the Calderan Alliance. A reptilian race evolved from flightless avians. Calderans initially fought the Vedrans when they were first encountered before being forced to join the Commonwealth. Hatched from eggs, they're extremely democratic within their own society, which is organized into various councils that arrive at almost every decision through consensus. Outside of the race, however, Calderans pursue a campaign of conquest and crush any political rivals. Typically wearing goggles to shield their photosensitive eyes, they prefer heavy armor during combat that supplements their already imposing physical stature. Instantly recognizable from their insectoid appearance, the Than have managed to carve out a stable empire during the Long Night. Thanks to their disciplined hive-mind culture, the Than were sought after as officers during the time of the Commonwealth. After the Commonwealth collapsed, however, they felt a sense of betrayal at the hands of the soft-skinned races, and their time with them as an ally a period of weakness. The Than hegemony that emerged while Andromeda was frozen in time was an expansionist power determined to impose their own vision of order on the galaxy. A hive mind in a more complete sense of the word, it is the Bokor that frightened both the Commonwealth and Nietzscheans, although the Than seem to have an especially intense hatred for them. A species of microscopic parasites, they share a collective consciousness as they're able to infect hosts via airborne spores, hijack their nervous system, and then control their body. Unlike the Magog, the Bokor are far more subtle in their invasion tactics, since they are able to mimic their host's behavior perfectly as they have access to their memories, with the collective's memory spanning 50,000 years of existence. The parasites regard non-Bokor life as merely vessels to be filled with their consciousness as they infiltrate starships, governments, or outposts. Over time, someone acting as a host for the Bokor will change, becoming robotic and emaciated, with pulsating skin that takes on a grayish translucent color, while emitting a sickly sweet smell as the parasite rewrites their body's chemistry. Curing someone of a Bokor infection without harming them is difficult, requiring electrical shocks or advanced medical nanotechnology. The Ogami, a race of pirates and mercenaries, are one of the more ubiquitous antagonists the crew of Andromeda faces. Towering over humans, they sport blue skin over a powerful frame that exemplifies their warrior ethos. While expensive to hire as mercenaries, Ogami have proven to be reliable fighters since their code of honor compels them to fulfill contracts. Indeed, they are often hired by Nietzscheans to act as shock troops due to their ruthlessness and determination. As pirates, the Ogami specialize in boarding actions, using their ships to pierce the enemy's hull and engage in visceral combat. Their weaponry is surprisingly crude, often consisting of axes, round shields, and Gauss rifles that favor shock and awe tactics. Beyond greed or the thirst for conquest, some factions are purely ideologically motivated. Restorians, or Resters colloquially, abhor technology, specifically AIs and starships, and wish to revert galactic society to a primitive state. To this end, they ironically use high-powered weaponry, destroyers, and fighters to wage a campaign of eco-terrorism against their targets. In doing so, they aim to disrupt the Free Trade Alliance's commercial routes and protect planetary ecosystems as well as indigenous cultures. They blame reliance on technology for the Commonwealth's fall, having been founded by Gabriel, the android avatar of the rogue Highguard ship, the Balance of Judgment. Willing to make extreme sacrifices to achieve their goal, Resters view the Andromeda as a vestige of the past that must be destroyed. After the Commonwealth collapsed, there were those that tried to preserve its ideals, knowledge, and history for its own sake, namely the Knights of the Commonwealth, or Templars as they came to be known. Founded by Admiral Costanza Stark, they waited for a leader like Dylan Hunt to emerge, but faced internal schisms over hard choices they were forced to make as a secret society. Forming a splinter group, the Knights of Genetic Purity, or Genites for short, arose to carry out their mission utilizing genocidal tactics. Saying all genetically modified beings as the source of evil responsible for the Commonwealth's downfall, they wage war using advanced technology, typically attacking minor Nietzschean prides. Overzealous, they do not differentiate between civilian or military targets, including Captain Hunt for having a genetically modified mother, or even Harper due to his neural implants. Like the Templars, the Collectors also sought to amass the remnants of the Commonwealth, albeit in a more physical sense. Originally a group of historians and wealthy elites, they gathered everything from weaponry to works of art as they sought to monopolize the Commonwealth's legacy as its rightful heirs. Over time, they used these resources to control governments and abandoned their goal of rebuilding civilization, with some members becoming agents of the Abyss to secure their survival and preserve their collection. Undermining attempts to restore the Commonwealth, the Collectors saw the Andromeda as the ultimate prize. At its zenith, few empires besides the Pyrians could have stood against the Commonwealth. A non-humanoid species comparable to crustaceans, Pyrians require a high-temperature, methane-rich atmosphere to survive. This biological reality puts them at odds with most humanoid races, as the aliens will pyroform planets they deem unfit to sustain them. Largely unaffected by the coming of the long night, they have remained unified and isolated, with their devastating plasma-based weaponry and advanced technology consolidating their power as they seek to expand their borders. Dylan Hunt faced countless dangers during his mission to rebuild the Commonwealth. To overcome the challenges ahead, he would need allies. Not always facing hardship in combat, Dylan and his crew encountered ideological struggles as well. Newly freed from the black hole's gravity, the crew of Andromeda face an uphill battle. At first, they are only able to gather a handful of worlds to sign to the Charter, while wrestling between Dylan's idealistic view of the future and the cynic pragmatism of the reality created by the long night. Various new threats arise during this time as the crew scavenge for what they can. Disaster strikes when Harper accidentally triggers a mission protocol hidden in Andromeda's systems, wiping her memory and causing the ship to venture deep into Magog space. With swarm ships penetrating the hull, the crew is overwhelmed by the sheer number of hostile aliens, leaving Harper infested with larvae, Tyr captured, Rami severely damaged, and the rest of the crew injured as the Magog tried to convert Rev Bem back to their side. Recovering, Dylan and Rami are able to rescue the others from the world ship before fighting off the Magog escaping by launching a Nova Bomb. Seeking to purge himself of the Magog larvae, Harper enlists a Perseid scientist named Hoond to build a Tesseract machine that will bend space-time and allow the parasites to be extracted safely. The device accidentally causes temporal distortions across the ship, causing elements from other timelines to enter their reality. Trans-Gemini encounters a version of herself from the future during this event and trades places with her, as she apparently foresaw a terrible fate if they continued their current path. Although the original version of Trance was a whimsical being with purple skin, the future version had a golden hue, as well as a more stoic and militant disposition. Able to sign 50 worlds, the new system's Commonwealth is ratified in the face of the surging Magog threat. Terra-Z becomes a key base for the reconstituted High Guard, as the restoration of the Commonwealth invites new foes. Rev Bem would later depart from the crew around this time, as he pursued a path of spiritual enlightenment. Filling the space left by his departure would be Telemachus Rhade, the genetic reincarnation of Geharris Rhade, Dylan's traitorous Nietzschean first officer. His appearance would go hand in hand with increasing Nietzschean belligerency, leaving Dylan to grapple with questions of loyalty after Tyr leaves the crew to secretly undergo a black market procedure that will alter his DNA to match the progenitor Drago Museveni. Uniting the Nietzschean prides under his rule, Tyr goes as far to kidnap Becca and tries to trade Dylan to the Abyss in exchange for his people's survival after making a deal with the Collectors. This betrayal essentially collapsed the fragile alliance Dylan had built and plunged the known worlds back into chaos. His ambition proved to be his downfall, however, when he was confronted by Dylan and Telemachus, falling into a chasm after being shot. Things would escalate as the Andromeda fought to defend a pacifist habitat from Magog during the Battle of Arcology. The fight against the world ship is grim, with Rami destroyed and the crew sustaining heavy casualties. It appeared as though all was lost. Now was the time for Trance to reveal her true nature. In the universe, planetary bodies have godlike sentience and are able to project a portion of themselves as avatars. Their purpose is to influence lower dimensions in the struggle against entropy brought on by the spirit of the Abyss. Trance herself is the avatar of Tarnvedra's son, and a member of an ancient council known as the Nebula. Using her powers, Trance goes Nova to destroy the Magog world ship and allow Dylan to escape via a mysterious portal network known as the Route of Ages. The rest of the crew is scattered but survives to be reunited in the Sephra system, a pocket universe consisting of 9 planets orbiting a dying sun. Here they would encounter warlords, lost Commonwealth technology, and links to larger mysteries, as well as recruit a new android avatar named Doyle. While trapped in Sephra, Becca meets a man named Paul, with which she has a romantic encounter. In fact, it is Drago Museveni, progenitor of the Nietzschean race, that has traveled here from the past via the Route of Ages. Collecting a sample of her genetics, he returns to his own time and uses a sample to create the foundational Nietzschean genome, thus making Becca the alpha matriarch of their race. Despite the time paradox, she is able to wield her new authority to sway many Nietzscheans later on. At last, the battle against the spirit of the Abyss reaches a climax, after Andromeda's power is restored through the use of Vedran artifacts. The Nebula's solution to defeating the Abyss would wipe out all life in 3 galaxies, prompting Dylan Hunt to find an alternative. Instead, the Abyss is lured into the Route of Ages, where Trance bowls in her son to defeat the entity. With the Sephra system now reconnected to the galaxy via a slipstream portal, that the Road of Ages has become. Since Seafro was actually a lost veteran system that had been transformed, this comes as a critical victory for the reborn Commonwealth, now that the greatest cosmic threat has been eliminated and the Nietzscheans are held in check. Captain Hunt was revealed to be a being known as a Paradigm, an evolved race able to influence the flow of time and wield a protective celestial spark. Taking a bleaker view of the future, the Andromeda series makes for a captivating opera. Its distinct setting is imaginative yet contains familiar elements taken from history, as well as a motley cast of characters to cheer for. Most of all, it is a story of endurance against overwhelming odds in a universe shaped by fate.
You are watching Excalibur Forge. Remember to like, comment and follow on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, TikTok and Patreon.